Welcome to Music Mindset Monday, episode 3. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Vishmi. I'm a vocal coach and a singer based in Melbourne. So in this episode, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of my song creation process. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we are now in Logic Pro project. I'll share some of the things that I was doing with this project. This is my initial mood board for this particular song, and I did choose the style pop rock and electro pop. I got some inspiration from K-pop as well. I got some inspiration from these 3 songs to create this particular song. These 3 songs are really nice. These are my keywords: spring, happy, energetic, calming, bright, pastel, innocent, dreamy. So I wanted this to be very happy, dreamy kind of a song. It's spring in here in Melbourne. I got my inspiration because the flowers are blooming and it's really nice outside. As you can see in the pictures, I wanted to resemble that. I know for some of you guys it's fall. I did create another mood board just in case you want to get some inspiration. So I went for indie folk and indie pop vibe for this mood board, and I found this really amazing track. I think she's an upcoming artist, but it was really good. And then warm, sad, earth, fallout. These were my key words for this type of a mood board. So let's get into the project. I'm just gonna cross out all these. I think I mentioned a couple of times in the other video as well, you need to have freedom, but you also have to have a structure, otherwise you're gonna get lost in the process. The first thing I thought about is these 5 things. As you can see, the number 1 I thought about is the progression. I have picked my progression up in here, and then I thought about the song structure, like my verse, intro, verse, chorus. So I thought about what I wanted to include in the song, the arrangement, and then my basic layers, what type of drums, chords, bass, mids and effects I want. And then finally the vocals and static mix, like a rough mix, adjusting volume and pan. So these 2 are very post-production. You can do it simultaneously, especially volume levels and panning, but vocals, I think it's my last step. I have a rough vocals for this one as well, but mainly I'm going to focus on these 3 things today. All right, I first arrange my project in Logic. You have this panel up here. You can press option G and then the global track configuration comes up, and you can have all these ticked. It's like adding all the layers, but you don't necessarily need all this. I just always have my arrangement. I don't need movie, tempo, beat mapping, nope, signature, no. I just need my chord track and arrangement and maybe markers. I can put some markers, like I need something here or something like that. I can then add a marker quickly to my track. The tempo is there so that you can adjust the tempo. As you can see here, this blue line, you can create dots and then adjust the tempo. And same goes with the key signature. If there's a key change in your song, then you can add the key change. The beat mapping gives you the downbeats and upbeats. I don't need that. So I'm just going to keep arrangement and chord track. You can see I already went ahead and create the whole arrangement. To do this is very easy. You just need to place the cursor where you want. You press this plus sign and then it adds a section for you, and then you can select what you want in this drop down menu. And let's say you don't have what you want, like let's say you want to pause chorus, you just name it over here and then you go ahead and pause chorus and then enter, boom, and it's there. I just love doing this. It keeps me on track. I have freedom, but the structure is there. So I decide whether I wanted my post chorus to be like 4 bars or 2 bars. You can hover around the end and make it longer or shorter. You can do option C, and then you can color. I color coded my arrangement. As you can see, all my choruses are pink, my verses are blue, pre-chorus are purple, and intros are brown. So it's nice and neat. The arrangement is there then. And the next thing, I'm just gonna drag this down so you can see. So this is my chord track. I've already done my chord track, and my chords are changing every bar. So every bar I have a new chord. To do this, again, it's very easy. I'm just gonna quickly go to here. I have this empty space. So in here, the progression still stays same. So I'll just quickly create a new one so that you can see. So once you add this, it's gonna add the whole, you can select out and do like this, or I normally go ahead and I choose my scissors and then I just cut them into bars like this, depending on your progression. If it's changing every 2 bars, then you can do that. Mine is every bar, so I'm going to cut like that, and then back to the pointer tool, and you just select the chord you want. So in this case, it's a G sus4. Let me quickly copy. It's actually very similar. A minus 7 and C at 9. Once you created the main chords, if it's the same, you can just shift, select everything, copy, or even option drag. It's gonna copy. Keep my cursor here, select this, paste. See, it's easy. In my pre-chorus, I had a different pattern. I changed these 2 chords, swapping the C at 9 and the A minor 7th. I'm doing my pre-chorus now. Easy, very easy to do. Just like that, then you created the chord track. There are a couple of reasons why you should do this process. When I'm creating my chords, I do have a MIDI keyboard, but I'm a bit lazy sometimes, especially when I'm creating pads, synth pads and stuff. I don't want to plug everything and do it. I would quickly create my block chords using this method. Okay, there you go. So I'm just going to select these 4 chords and make a synth pattern. Let's do it in here so you can see. You highlight it and drag it to the track you want to create your block chords. See, now you have your block chords. Pretty easy. You don't need to go to the piano roll and draw one at a time. If you want to join them, you just command press J and then it joins as one. And let's have a listen to this. It sounds pretty nice. Okay, you must be thinking, wait, it's not block chords, it's playing like a pattern. All right, this is a small trick that I use in Logic Pro to get some arpeggiation. Is that a word even? Okay, to do arpeggios. Okay, I just come to this MIDI track here, MIDI effects here, and then I select the arpeggiator. So I already have my arpeggiator here. And then as you can see, you can select grooves, different grooves. I'm doing the complex chord groove and I'm adding some variation and octaves that gives this effect. So if I turn this off and then I show you, let's keep, okay, now let's have a listen. See, you get what I mean. So if you want just nice block chords, the easy way, and if you want to add some spice to it, you can just put this effect on top of it and then go ahead and edit this if you want a different pattern. So I'm just going to quickly delete because I don't need this here. So that's the easy way to create chords. If you're not really good with all these, you can create a session player, a keyboard session player, and choose block chords, broken chords, arpeggiated, simple pads, right? I'm just going to do freely. So I'm just going to give freedom to the session player. This is really cool in Logic Pro. Once you hit create, it's going to add a whole new layer to your project. See, it added like the whole chord on, and it's crazy. Like this took me about a second, I think. And then you have like a really great base to start off. I'm not saying use this as your structure for the song. You can work on top of this, get some inspiration. So let's have a listen. It's gonna sound nice, I feel like. Let me mute that. You can customize so much from the session player settings, you can choose different chord rhythms, enable and disable the hands. You can change the complexity, intensity. You can do that. If you are having a creator block, mind block, this is a good way to start off your project. This is why we created this arrangement track and the chord track, because that's what the session player is going to reference. So it create all these chorus, free chorus, verse parts, and then the complexity and the intensity is going to change according to what type of song section you are in. I was thinking to do a little bit of a free-handed chord structure this time, so I do have this, but I didn't end up using this. I can just delete that. Okay, there you go. So you have the basic chord layer. That's great. We are good with our progression, the first step, and then we are good with our song structure now. We know the structure and we're already in the basic layers. We are in chord section, right? The next thing I wanted to add was my mids, which is like some arps and pads and stuff. I have so many pads on here. Let me actually solo everything. Like these ones. I have a couple of different pads serving different purposes. They're doing different things, even though there are a couple of them. I have a hook synth over here. It's doing this. Right, so on top of that, I have my main pad, which has very simple chords. And also I wanted to add some spice for this intro, so I went ahead and created this up synth, the one that we listened before. Remember, I used the arpeggiator in here, and then I did my groove. All right, all together, it's going to sound something like this. You get the idea. And I have another effect I layered in here. I really loved this effect. I'm just going to quickly turn off the effect and let you hear it. It's a pretty boring block chord playing with a nice Severum synth. But what I added is I added a beat maker and I did a record spin on top of that. So it does this then. Hopefully you guys could hear that. And when it's layered with this other synth, it's going to sound fantastic. So it has a nice pull and push effect to it. So that's what my mids are doing. And then I went ahead and create my bass. So I used the Sublab bass. I didn't do anything big. I add some automation, pitch bend. When we press A in Logic Pro, you can see the automation track pops up, and I used kilohertz pitch shift pitch bend. Then I drew all these. This is where I want to emphasize. In my track, I go into a break before the chorus. I did this with pitch bend. So it's like a drop, pitch drop down, and then an increase. It sounds amazing with all the other instruments. I have some drums going on. I'm using the drum machine designer in Logic Pro. I'm using different type of samples. This is my pattern. Let's have a listen. It's like a pattern, and then I have a roll in here. It's a pretty basic pattern. You can pop in all your samples to these. What I did with this particular drum beat, I didn't insert the kick and the snare separately. I actually found this loop which I liked. And then I drag this loop into the drum machine designer, and it automatically chops up all the different elements from the transients. Then you get this pads and you can create the beats. So see, like everything has a different sound. This is a loop I'm using. As you can see, I have chopped it up to my preference. And I have another kick. I wanted to have another like a higher end kick. My initial kick is a little bit low and this one is a bit punchier. And then when I layer with this, it gave me that power I wanted. And then I'm building up in my pre-chorus. And for the drop, I created a small drop here. I used a drum build up. And then again, I have chopped up this and used it in a fun way like this. I double this last layer because I wanted to create a little bit of a bigger impact. That's how the drums are. And then I'm using the loop in here. It is a little bit of a busier loop. So I'm using that instead of the pattern that I created, which is a bit simpler. That's it for the drums at the moment. I'll be talking about effects as well, because these are effects. Yeah, it's doing something cool. And this acts as like a sweep. Okay, let's have a listen. And then these, let's enable this. So this is building up from here. Yeah, and I have my kick dropping here. These are like all ear candies. So that's what the drums are doing. If we hear the whole track here, it's very uplifting. So I'm just going to come from the pre-chorus. In the pre-chorus, I'm going with 8 bars. Let's go from here. I'm starting to build up. As you can see, my kick is doubling and then I'm starting to build up. It creates that nice ear candy with those effects. So I'm using a little bit of different breaks in here and here. So here I have a very mild down version when I'm starting the song. Let's listen to that. That's that. And then when I'm approaching my last chorus, I went ahead and I added another few layers with some yells, female yells. Okay, let's listen from here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so it's doing that hey thing. So these three are acting as some ear candy, a little bit of a more impact. Let's do that. Yeah, then you can see. So it's right here before the beat drops back again. I kept the beat not too heavy in my chorus because I wanted to be energetic but not overpowering. I wanted the track to be a bit more calm. So that's why I'm not going really hard on my chorus with the beats. I'm just adding a little bit of a layer. On the last chorus, I'm adding this drum loop as well, the hats. That's pretty much it. I actually started this whole track with this inspiration. This was my initial inspiration. Yeah, it was just me singing with the guitar and I was just jamming the chords that I chose. Then I just drag it onto my project. After I created these two, I drag it onto the project and then I started with the chords, the mids, the bass, and then the drums and the effects were final steps of my project. So that's how I normally go on with the project. I actually started this project yesterday. It took me about, I would say, 5-6 hours. Okay, I'm just gonna play the whole thing so you can listen. I don't know whether this mic will capture all the details, especially the subs on the bass. So that's how I create a song in Logic Pro. I have a basic structure and then I go from there. It keeps me on track. It's easy for me then to finish a track. I know I haven't put out much. I have an album coming up. It's gonna take a while when you're doing things on your own. I'm not using any fancy equipment for this project, so I'm trying to do everything on my own. You need some patience when you're working on albums. If you want me to do more videos on Logic Pro, if you want to have a quick sneak peek how I do sound designing and how I create my vocal recordings, how I arrange them, just leave me a comment down in the description and I'll try my best to create a video. And next up in Music Mindset Monday, we will be talking about how I became a vocal coach. So I'm just gonna give you some tips, tricks that you can do, and if you want to become a vocal coach or a singer, next video is for you guys. So stay tuned, make sure to subscribe and give a like for this video. Until next time, have a good day.